Donald Trump has urged protesters to keep taking to the streets and that his help is on its way. He said he has cancelled all meetings with Iranian officials. Let me put the post from Truth Social onto the screen, because he has written, "Iranian patriots, keep protesting, take over your institutions, save the names of the killers and abusers. They will pay a big price." And then he says he's cancelled all those meetings with Iranian officials that had been planned until, as he puts it, the senseless killing of protesters stops. Let's go straight to Washington, straight to our correspondent Paul Adams. And Paul, we saw the president get on to Air Force One, add very little to that statement, but it is significant in terms of what he's outlined there.
Yeah, he obviously indicated that the statement, the Truth Social statement, speaks for itself. And I think we're right to highlight it and much of the language in it, because it does sound like a president who has decided on a course of action, and also has decided that the Iranian regime may be on its last legs, and that hence the kind of urging of the protesters to take over institutions, to log the names of people who are oppressing them. It really does sound as though Donald Trump believes that this is the moment to bring down or to hasten the end of the Islamic regime in Iran. Now, he talked about cancelling meetings with Iranian officials. We don't know, frankly, that any meetings were actually scheduled. We'd heard him over the weekend saying that there had been some kind of outreach from the Iranians wanting to have a diplomatic dialogue, presumably about Iran's nuclear program, the subject of ongoing conversations with the Americans. And he indicated that he was willing to have that, but that action might have to come first. He seems now to be suggesting that he's not interested in having any of those conversations, and that action may be imminent and may even be on its way. That last phrase, help is on its way. What does he mean by that? We don't know.
And of course, any action, and of course it is worth underlining all the caveats, we don't know what that is, but say if it was a military strike in part, it all carries significant risk as well, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. I mean, he has a huge range of options, from, a repeat of what we saw last summer with B-2 bombers flying all the way from Missouri to deliver their bombs onto parts of Iran's nuclear program, to Tomahawk missile strikes launched from submarines much closer to Iran that could take out specific facilities. Let's say, for example, a headquarters or a barracks of the kinds of besieged militiamen who are involved in repressing protests on the streets. There's been talk in the media here of cyber attacks, of disinformation campaigns designed to confuse and demoralize the Iranian regime. I mean, he has an enormous range of options. I think the one thing you can be pretty sure of is that this is not a president thinking about putting US boots on the ground, or even conducting an operation like what we saw with Venezuela just a little over a week ago, with helicopters flying in and capturing the leader of that country. We're not going to be seeing that kind of thing. Those are simply far too risky. There's the spectre of Jimmy Carter's efforts to rescue American hostages held in Tehran after the Iranian Revolution in 1979. That ended in disaster and had terrible political consequences for Jimmy Carter, something that Donald Trump alluded to only the other day. But he does have a range of options, and it may not be long before we find out which one he's chosen.
Paul, I hope you can stay with me, but I want to bring in Jihar Goel from BBC Persian, who's here in the studio. And Jihar, just summarise for people watching and listening the scale of the protests we've seen and the most recent reports about numbers of deaths and those detained.
In the past few days, human rights organizations, they said around 650 people have been killed. That was the number they could identify. That was the number before the complete shutdown of internet. But we know in the past 6 days, during the shutdown of internet and completely cut off communication with the outside world, there was the heavy crackdown on protesters. Matthew, in the past few days, some people went to the border with Iran, had a SIM card from a neighboring country, get a signal, send out a message. A very small group of people had Starlink satellite connections. They get in touch with us, send messages. The message we are getting is very common from every corner of the country, from small and large hospitals from Tehran to a small town, Abdanan, in west of Iran. They said our hospitals are overwhelmed with injured young men and women. Our morgue is piled up with the bodies of young men and women. We just saw a picture from parents, from mother, father, lining up in front of the morgue and forensic in Tehran to identify their loved one, to collect the bodies of those people who have been killed. I think, Matthew, the numbers we are hearing from so many people, there is a fear. The numbers of those people who have been killed and injured must be in many thousands.
Jihat, stay with me because let us try to get more on exactly where you ended up. Camelia Antrabifard is the editor-in-chief of the Independent Persian. She joins us live on the programme, and thank you so much for being here with us. I know you have relatives inside Iran. I'm told that you have tried to make contact. What is the latest that you are hearing?
Thank you very much for hosting with me. Yes, I have relatives, immediate relatives, mother, brother, sister, cousins, everyone in Iran. Finally, after days of dark out and this internet and phone services has been shutting down, my mother managed to call me like an hour ago. So we have spoken for like 10 minutes, thank God. Of course, all of us were worried about all Iranians inside Iran, but it was very revealing. I just felt better. Since Thursday, haven't had any words from anyone of my relatives inside Iran. And as I said again, I feel so much sympathy with all that Iranians inside Iran facing this brutal regime and lots of the loved one. Yes, I managed to talk to my mother. Yes, I'm very grateful for that.
Well, that is a considerable relief because all around the world there are so many people in your position who haven't been able to talk to their loved ones to find out if they're all right. Tell me more about where your mother is, what she's seen, and the wider family. Has anybody been caught up in these protests?
I heard from her most of the people she knows has been participating at these demonstrations. And she was speaking on Thursday, which it was the harshest day of the regime brutality confronting the protesters. She lives in northern Tehran and in Shahrak Gharb particularly. And they said the sounds of the automatic rifle didn't stop until early morning on Thursday evening in Tehran's time. The shops were closing down at 1 p.m., like the grocery stores, and somehow people managed to communicate with each other to appear at the demonstrations. I was 6 years old when revolution happened, and she's seeing so much similarity of that days, which the street was so chaotic and everyone were feeling the regime last days is so much near. She cannot participate at the demonstration. She is with the walker, and but observing and talking to the relatives and the neighbors and other people who were going in and out, they are bringing back messages. And I heard, unfortunately, one of the cousin has been shot on his eyes, and looks like, unfortunately, he lost his eyes and he's still in hospital. And she heard most of the families, before receiving the body of the loved ones from the hospital, they have to admit it. This person haven't been part of the demonstrator, and it was a passerby and shoot accidentally by these rivals at the street. Otherwise, it's very hard to release the bodies to the family members. That's what I heard from Tehran.
Yes, and we've also been hearing at BBC Persian accounts where one person told our colleagues that they just keep killing, talking about the firing into crowds, live ammunition. They talked about different areas around the country burning. We've heard from Donald Trump, the US president, in the last, hour and a quarter, urging protesters to keep taking to the streets. Do you know if the protests are still continuing even as we are talking now?
Yes, the protest is continuing. We have some people in touch with our publication, The Independent Persian, communicating with us through the Starlink satellite equipment. And we know that already in some of the cities like Babol and it's in northern Iran, the demonstration start to forming. We haven't had news from Tehran. As everyone knows, it's impossible. People from Iran through the internet sending footages and etc. unless they are connected with the satellite equipment, and it takes time. When they were coming back from the protest, these people were sending us messages. They have planned again tonight, have the demonstrations. Their communication through calling each other how to go to the demonstration, it's very secretive, and it's passing messages through neighborhoods, university students through each other, and the communities form of asking each other to where and what time start the demonstrations. President Trump messages has been heard because still Iranian can watch two or three Persian TV networking in Iran. And we knew that, and my family said that in some areas the regime goes to taking off these dishes from the rooftop of the people, to even cutting off their ability watching live program from the Persian TV channels in Iran. But President Trump messages is kind of promising. He may want to do something in the favor of the protesters. Of course, none of us knows what kind of strikes he is meaning to be conducted against of the regime and in favor of the protesters.
It is fascinating listening to you describing what you are hearing, because, of course, what is underlined in all of this is the huge risks that all of those protesters are taking by coming out onto the streets. We've seen the sort of crackdown. Have you got any sense of the types of people who are turning out? Does it span across all age groups and sections, or is it principally the young?
All age groups, all sects, and it's the beauty and phenomenon of this demonstration is that seeing Iranians from any type of the religious and also sects, and everyone were united under one flag. And that flag, of course, everyone knows it's the lion and sun. The flag for thousands of years has been symbol of our flag in Iran, and the Islamic Republic changed that. Seeing this unity and that kind of the protest that everyone were so much united is phenomenal, and we never ever saw that before. I can say yes, at all the ages and all the groups, they are participating. Living in Iran with these conditions, it was so difficult, not only economical wise, and also seeing Iranian lost this dignity they had. You guys remember quite well how before the revolution, Iranian has been treated internationally. Iran has loud voices among of the international community as a very respectful nation, and Iranians were so much respected. And now they are seeking to back what they have been lost at these 47 years, and they are very eager. The youths are so brave. When I am seeing them, they were confronting the regime bare hands and confronting the bullets. It makes us to believe they are very sincere. Even if President Trump wouldn't help, they would making this job done by themselves.
Camelia, we have to leave it there, but thank you for taking time to speak to us here on BBC News. We appreciate that. Thank you so much.